The last vestiges of deep twilight clung like a frayed shroud to the desolate, mist-shrouded Moor of Aerthos, painting the vast, unforgiving sky in somber hues of bruised amethyst and fading indigo. Below, scattered across the bleak, wind-swept landscape, stood the skeletal remains of colossal, ancient standing stones and crumbling megaliths, relics of a forgotten age swallowed by time and elemental fury. Whispers among the few hardy folk who dared traverse these cursed lands spoke not of serenity, but of an encroaching blight, a palpable drain on life, and a pervasive, unsettling rhythmic thrumming that clawed at the edges of sanity. Thorne, a scout whose sharp eyes had once mapped forgotten trails for less noble pursuits, now walked these blighted lands seeking grim redemption. His worn leather armor a silent testament to a life hard-lived and now purposefully redirected. He sought the source of the creeping corruption, armed with keen senses, a pragmatic mind, and a conviction that some wrongs, however ancient, demanded to be set right. He was a solitary figure against the encroaching darkness, his silhouette a stark defiance against the Moor's malevolent pulse. Even before his gloved hand brushed the cool, lichen-covered stone of the first immense megalith, he felt it, a distinct, unsettling vibration in the very earth beneath his boots, a deep, low thrumming that seemed to bypass his ears entirely and resonate directly within his bones, a sensation akin to an internal, disharmonious tremor. It was unlike any natural seismic event, lacking the raw power of an earthquake or the distant rumble of thunder. This was a methodical, persistent pulse, faintly discordant, subtly disorienting, and oddly ravenous, as if consuming the essence of the world around it. The pervasive mist-shrouded Moor swallowed all but the immediate surroundings, muffling distant sounds, yet the thrumming cut through the oppressive silence with an almost physical presence, an undeniable force. The air was heavy, laden with the metallic tang of barren earth and something acrid, like burnt ozone, clear hints of deeply corrupted arcane energy. The ancient standing stones, etched with weathered, barely discernible runes that once promised potent protection, seemed to hum faintly in eerie, disharmonious response to the deeper, malevolent pulse, their ancient wards straining visibly against an unseen, crushing pressure. This was demonstrably no place of gentle peace. This was a festering scar on the very fabric of the world, a nexus where ancient magic had gone terribly, catastrophically awry. Thorne took a long, slow, deliberate breath, letting the biting, damp air fill his lungs, focusing his unwavering mind against the pervasive, encroaching unease that sought to seep into his spirit. His instincts, sharpened and honed by countless years of navigating treacherous paths, screamed caution, urging retreat, but his unyielding purpose, his grim quest for atonement, relentlessly urged him forward. He drew a small, intricately carved waystone compass from his belt, its typically unwavering needle, normally a steadfast guide, now spun wildly and erratically, vibrating with a frantic energy that synchronized with the unsettling thrum. This undeniable confirmation solidified his grim suspicions. The anomaly was immensely powerful, intrinsically linked directly to the very ley lines that crisscrossed and sustained the entire land, and dangerously, catastrophically unstable. He pushed relentlessly deeper into the desolate moor, his worn boots sinking slightly into the sodden ground, his sharp eyes meticulously scanning the swirling, oppressive mist for any faint sign of a discernible path, any telltale indication that might lead him directly to the blighted source. The ambient quiet, thick and heavy, was now violently punctuated by the distant, mournful cry of some unseen, blighted creature, and the relentless, rapidly growing pulse of the thrumming, a truly discordant rhythm of profound decay. As Thorne ventured further, his senses straining against the oppressive atmosphere, the signs of the pervasive blight became increasingly stark, chillingly undeniable, and profoundly disheartening. Twisted, skeletal trees, their gnarled branches utterly devoid of leaves, clawed desperately at the mist-heavy sky like the desperate, grasping fingers of tormented spirits. The ground was utterly barren, cracked and parched, the once resilient moorland grasses reduced to brittle, lifeless, dust-like husks, as if the very essence of life had been violently siphoned from them, leaving only desolation. The air, thick and cloying with the taste of decay and corrupt magic, pressed down on him with a tangible weight, making each breath a laborious, conscious effort. The rhythmic thrumming intensified with every weary step, now a deep, grinding bass note that seemed to reverberate from the very core of the earth beneath the oppressive silence, resonating not just in his bones, but seeming to vibrate the very ground itself, making the scattered standing stones visibly tremble. He could feel it distinctly in his teeth, a low, uncomfortable, persistent buzz that hinted at raw, latent, dangerously uncontrolled arcane energy. His waystone compass, now violently shivering in his grip, consistently pulled him towards a barely perceptible rise in the terrain, a low hill obscured almost entirely by the relentless, swirling mist, a subtle yet undeniable indication of the ancient, forgotten temple he suspected lay hidden beneath its stony embrace. Finally, through a swirling, fleeting break in the pervasive, clinging mist, a massive, dark, foreboding silhouette abruptly emerged, the crumbling, cyclopean stones of a half-buried ancient temple. Its architecture spoke not of elegance or grace, but of a monolithic, merciless civilization long vanished into the annals of time, its original purpose utterly swallowed by millennia of neglect and elemental fury. Gigantic, weathered blocks of stone, once intricately carved, now jutted from the moor like broken, decaying teeth, overgrown with sickly, unnatural, phosphorescent moss that pulsed faintly, not with the healthy vibrancy of natural life, but with the sickly, emerald-black glow of deeply corrupted magic. The primary entrance, a gaping, shadowed maw choked with massive, fallen rubble and debris, seemed to exhale the very thrumming that now dominated the entire moor, amplified to a deafening, disorienting roar that pressed in mercilessly on all of Thorne's senses. This was unequivocally no peaceful sanctuary or quiet retreat. It was a place of forgotten, terrible power, now twisted and deeply corrupted into something malign. He activated a faint, silver-glowing rune on his gauntlet, casting a small, persistent light for his perilous path, and, with a grim resolve, stepped into the oppressive, ancient shadow, his hand resting firmly near the hilt of his short sword, ready for whatever arcane or physical peril awaited him within. Inside the crumbling temple, the air was thick, stagnant, and intensely, unnaturally cold, yet simultaneously permeated by the unceasing, oppressive rhythmic thrumming that vibrated violently through the very stone of the walls and floor, making the air itself hum with a palpable, discordant energy. Thorne's cautious, measured strides echoed ominously in the vast, lightless chambers, each step revealing vast, crumbling archways that led to unseen depths, and colossal, fallen pillars, intricately carved, now obscured by millennia of accumulated dust and the spectral remnants of forgotten rituals. The luminescent moss here pulsed more violently, with a sickening, vibrant emerald-black glow, casting shifting, grotesque shadows that danced like tormented phantoms along the ancient walls, playing cruel tricks on his eyes and unsettling his mind. The sense of a profound, draining, sapping energy was palpable, a constant, insidious siphon on any living thing that dared to exist within its radius, explaining the pervasive, debilitating blight outside. He navigated treacherous fields of shattered rubble and precarious debris, meticulously avoiding gaping chasms where the floor had simply given way to unknown depths, and carefully circumvented strange, shimmering distortions in the air, faint arcane wards still active, but dangerously twisted and unstable, fragile remnants of the temple's original protective enchantments now utterly corrupted by the pervasive, malign energy. This was a perilous, taxing journey, each step a calculated gamble against crumbling architecture, unstable magic, and his own fraying senses, yet his resolute determination held firm. Deeper still, the thrumming intensified until it became an almost physical pressure, a ceaseless, grinding force that rattled his teeth, threatened to blur his vision, and sent sharp pains through his very skull. He finally found himself in a gargantuan central chamber, its true, immense scale only hinted at by the faint, sickly glow of the corrupted moss on its distant, unseen walls. At its very heart, suspended eerily in midair and pulsating with a violent, emerald-black light that seemed to actively draw all warmth, all color, and all life from the surrounding ancient stone, hovered a colossal, crystalline formation, the Leyline Nexus crystal. It was cracked, deeply fissured, and visibly corrupted, its once pure, vibrant arcane energy now twisted and perverted into a destructive siphon, relentlessly draining the very life force from the land through the subterranean ley lines it was originally designed to regulate and nurture. This was the undeniable source of the insidious blight, the malevolent heart of the disorienting, agonizing thrum, a raw, gaping wound in the world's very magical essence. The air immediately around it crackled with uncontrolled, dangerous power, smelling sharply of ozone and profound decay, a silent, terrifying testament to its perilous, unstable nature. It was not a monstrous beast he faced, but a broken heart of pure, wild, untamed magic, a profound threat to the very world. Thorne cautiously approached the violently pulsating nexus, his hand resting firmly on the hilt of his short sword, though he knew instinctively that mere physical force would be utterly useless against this raw, unbound arcane energy. The sheer destructive potential radiating from the fissured crystal was immense, a tangible, crushing force that promised instant oblivion if mishandled. He saw now that the thrumming was not just a sound, but the very pulse of the crystal's corrupted energy, an unholy, draining rhythm that echoed the decay it wrought. It presented a deeply complex problem, one that resonated with his shadowed past as a rogue, a time when such overwhelming power would have been viewed only as a coveted prize to be cunningly stolen, perhaps even ruthlessly wielded for personal gain. The temptation, fleeting but exquisitely potent, to simply harness this raw, untamed power for himself, to gain an insurmountable advantage, flickered dangerously in his mind like a dying ember. But his reformed nature, painfully forged in countless quiet acts of selfless redemption, quickly, fiercely extinguished that insidious thought. This quest was unequivocally not about personal acquisition or power. It was about restoring balance to the land, about healing a grievous wound, even if it meant risking himself entirely against such terrifying, uncontrolled magic. He meticulously observed the nexus for long, timeless moments, his sharp eyes tracing the chaotic flow of corrupted energy, carefully identifying the precise points of deepest strain and catastrophic fracture within the crystal's vast, broken form. It was not inherently malicious, he realized with a sudden, profound clarity. but merely shattered, its vast, primordial power twisting tragically upon itself without any guidance or containment, like a wounded, suffering beast. Destroying it would certainly end the pervasive blight, but it would also rip a permanent, irreparable scar in the ancient ley lines, forever altering the natural magical flow of the entire region. A catastrophic choice no true protector of the natural world, no matter their shadowed past, could ever make lightly. The only true solution, the most arduous and perilous path, was purification, an incredibly dangerous and uncertain endeavor that offered no guarantee of survival. He had heard faint whispers of ancient druidic rituals, of selfless paladin vows, that could potentially soothe such raw, untamed arcane wounds, but he was definitively neither. Yet, his profound dedication to healing the blighted land, his burgeoning, undeniable bond with the natural world, felt almost like a personal, undeniable form of divine conviction, a guiding force stronger than any formal creed. He drew a small, unadorned silver amulet from beneath his worn tunic, a simple, burnished charm from a forgotten, less complicated past, and gripped it tightly in his palm, offering a silent, desperate prayer for guidance and strength in the face of such overwhelming odds. With a deep, unwavering, resolute breath, Thorne extended his hand towards the violently pulsating Leyline Nexus crystal, not in an act of challenge or aggression, but in a profound, desperate act of will, a plea for harmony. The instant his fingertips, protected only by his worn leather glove, brushed against the raw, vibrating surface, a wave of agonizing, soul-chilling cold, immediately followed by searing, unbearable heat, surged violently through his arm, threatening to utterly overwhelm his senses and collapse his very consciousness. The rhythmic thrumming intensified to a blinding, deafening roar, seeming to explode outward within the vast chamber, accompanied by blinding flashes of emerald black light that momentarily eclipsed even the faint, sickly glow of the phosphorescent moss on the cavern walls. He gritted his teeth, a raw, visceral sound against the pervasive noise, focusing all his remaining will, all his conviction, all his yearning for redemption, into a singular, unyielding intent, not to dominate the crystal, not to exploit its vast power, but to gently align it, to painstakingly guide its corrupted energy back into its natural, harmonious, and benevolent flow. It was a furious battle of wills, a grueling test of endurance against raw, untamed, destructive arcane power, but he held firm, his body screaming in protest, fueled only by his silent, unbreakable vow of redemption and his unwavering belief in the land's right to heal. Slowly, agonizingly slowly, the violent, discordant thrumming began to shift, to change its very nature. The pervasive discord eased, the grinding roar subtly softening, gradually transforming into a deep, steady humming, pure and profoundly resonant, no longer painful or disorienting but profoundly, undeniably soothing, like the earth's own heartbeat regaining its true rhythm. The emerald black, malevolent light of the Nexus crystal softened, shifting to a clear, vibrant green, then to a shimmering, ethereal silver that pulsed with clean, benevolent energy, filling the chamber with a soft, warm glow. The visible cracks and fissures in its vast surface seemed to glow with an inner luminescence, slowly, miraculously, knitting themselves together, sealing the ancient wound that had bled corruption for centuries. The oppressive, cold, stagnant air in the chamber lifted, replaced by a fresh, clean, invigorating breeze carrying the pure scent of rich, fertile earth and burgeoning life, the lingering, acrid taint of corruption utterly vanishing as if it had never existed. The phosphorescent moss on the walls, once sickly and dull, now glowed with a healthy, vibrant emerald light, pulsing in perfect, harmonious rhythm with the purified crystal's gentle, life-affirming hum. Thorne remained connected to the Nexus for several more long, timeless moments, feeling the immense, rejuvenating flow of pure, revitalized arcane energy course through him. No longer destructive but profoundly restorative, a powerful, cleansing current washing through his very being. The profound sense of unease, of subtle fear and insidious dread that had accompanied his arduous journey, dissolved completely, replaced by an overwhelming feeling of profound peace, a deep, abiding trust in the ancient, benevolent forces he had helped to heal and restore. This, he knew with absolute certainty, was the true, intended nature of the Nexus, a heart of benevolent, sustaining power. He finally broke contact, his hand trembling slightly, not from lingering strain, but from the sheer, overwhelming magnitude of the energy he had channeled and the profound experience. The Leyline Nexus crystal, now utterly whole and shimmering with pure, brilliant silver light, continued its gentle, deep humming, a perfect, harmonious note in the restored, vital symphony of the world. As Thorne made his arduous way out of the ancient temple, the path seemed miraculously clearer, the crumbling stones less threatening, almost guiding him. The pervasive, oppressive mist outside, which had so long stubbornly clung to the blighted Moor, now began to slowly, gracefully dissipate, like a lingering nightmare fading with the light. This revealed the first tentative, hopeful rays of gentle dawn breaking over the distant, once obscured peaks, painting them in hues of soft, roseate gold. The golden light, no longer obscured by the oppressive mist, began to embrace the revitalized landscape in broad swathes of soft gold and verdant green, eagerly pushing back the lingering shadows of corruption and decay. The skeletal trees, though still visually bare, seemed less desolate, imbued with a palpable, nascent promise of renewed life, ready to sprout leaves once more. The ground beneath his feet felt firmer, no longer dead and brittle, but imbued with a subtle, vibrant energy that resonated perfectly with the crystal's harmonious hum, a living pulse. The pervasive, unsettling rhythmic thrumming that had plagued the Moor for so long was utterly gone, replaced by the deep, soothing humming of the restored Nexus, a comforting, harmonious melody carried on the now clean, crisp, invigorating breeze. Thorne paused at the edge of the now unveiled Moor, turning back to look at the ancient temple, now clearly visible under the brightening sky. Bathed in the soft, ethereal light of the gentle dawn, it no longer appeared as a ruin of decay and corruption, but as a grand monument to enduring power, a place where ancient magic had been profoundly redeemed and restored. He knew, with a quiet certainty, that his long journey of redemption was far from truly over, for the world held countless scars that needed mending, countless blights to be healed by those willing to act. But this particular blight, this ancient, festering wound upon the land, had been painstakingly salved. The pervasive rhythmic thrumming that had once filled him with profound unease and dread was now a distant, soothing echo, a gentle memory, a powerful testament to the profound, positive shift that had occurred. His past deeds, the heavy shadows he still carried, felt undeniably lighter, subtly cleansed by the pure, life-giving energy of the revitalized Leyline Nexus, a sense of peace he hadn't known possible. There was nothing left to do here, his arduous task complete. He had come seeking a destructive source of corruption, and through his unwavering perseverance and a singular moment of selfless courage, he had not only contained it but had fundamentally restored a vital artery of magic to the world. The good conclusion lay not in personal glory or grand, material reward, but solely in the tangible healing of the blighted land, in the quiet, profound knowledge that he had played his integral part in setting an ancient wrong right. As the gentle dawn fully embraced the moor, illuminating the ancient standing stones that now glowed with a faint, healthy luminescence, emanating warmth rather than discord, Thorne turned and walked away, a reformed rogue with a purpose now entirely renewed, ready, and perhaps even eager, for the next challenge the world might present. The deep, pure humming of the restored Leyline Nexus sang a silent, eternal song behind him, a powerful, benevolent beacon of hope and balance on the now healing Moor of Aerthos, its harmony a promise of renewal for the future.